This is PNC Roundtable.
Hello, this is Ric DeVore, Regional President for PNC Bank, and thank you for listening to PNC Roundtable. It's on this show that we tackle some of the region's tough issues with people who make a difference.
Now here's the PNC Roundtable.
Welcome into PNC Roundtable. Hi, I'm Paul W. Smith, usually with you Monday through Friday, 5:30 till 9 at News Talk 760 on the AM dial, WJR. But here with you on WJR.com and the Internet with Regional President Ric DeVore of PNC. Ric, nice to see you as always. Thanks for your support in the Paul W. Smith Golf Classic to benefit Detroit PAL, the Police Athletic League. Because of your support and others who were sponsors, we once again did over $500,000 net for the Detroit Police Athletic League, helping kids, which is a part of the DNA of PNC.
Oh, absolutely, and it's a great event, and I was talking to you earlier. I just love the fact you repeat, and it's so important for the listeners, net.
What matters is how much money goes to the kids.
It's a great event. I hope you can do something next year about the weather, but that you knew that was coming, right?
2 years in a row, 8 years without, 9 years without rain, and then 2 years in a row rain, and it feels like it rains all the time. But, we'll see. It was for the kids, and people hung in there, and we're glad that they did, and we appreciate all the support. On the program today, our PNC Roundtable, we're going to talk about a great exhibition, the Women of Vision exhibition, National Geographic photographers on assignment. And we welcome to the program Dr. Michael D. Stafford, an archaeologist and anthropologist with an extensive background in North American and Northern European research, fieldwork, and publication. Earned his Ph.D. in anthropology from the University of Wisconsin in Madison, his M.A. in anthropology from the University of Wyoming, Laramie, and his B.A. in sociology and archaeology from Alma College right here in Michigan. He is a former Fulbright scholar, and we welcome Dr. Michael D. Stafford to our PNC Roundtable.
Paul, great to be with you.
Nice to have you here in your capacity as director of Cranbrook Institute of Science. Lisa Samson joins us, too. She is a managing director, senior vice president, PNC Wealth Management, Southeast Michigan, with an eye toward leading a team of wealth management professionals striving to achieve the highest levels of client satisfaction. Top priority for Lisa is that the team exceeds the client expectations, and through her leadership and commitment, Lisa ensures that clients benefit from the full complement of investment, trust, financial planning, and private banking services to help them achieve their financial goals. Lisa Sampson, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate it. Ric, you got a good team here. How did you get involved? I think I know part of the answer, but because there was a partnership already with Cranbrook, with your great Grow Up Great program, that's such an important part of PNC.
Well, and Cranbrook is a great partner. They're our science partner in that program and an arts partner. So, for us, when we had a chance to bring this exhibit here, they were kind of the natural place for it. We are National Geographic's bank in Washington. And so when this idea first came up, they approached us. Last year was National Geo's 125th anniversary. So this is actually in celebration of that. It was originally going to 6 cities, but it's been expanded to 8. And it started in Washington, which it should. Went down to Charlotte, and it's coming here next month on September 14th. So we're excited about this exhibit for lots of reasons, not the least of which is the art itself. But also just as important, if not more important, is the exhibit is somewhat of a metaphor for women in business. As you know, Paul, we've talked about this before. There's 200,000 businesses that are owned by women in the state of Michigan alone. And Women of Vision, really is our support of women in the workplace as well as the art. And then I think Michael later is going to talk a little bit about an outreach component that we're factored into this exhibit as well with Detroit Public Schools, which I'm sure does not surprise you because
of course.
That's another partner of ours.
It's something that you do as a normal course of a business. But I want to ask Lisa, before we move on to that next aspect, as one of PNC's top executives in Michigan, maybe, Lisa, you can add your perspective on why PNC decided to sponsor this exhibition.
Yes, Paul, this sponsorship reflects PNC's significant commitment to diversity. The 11 amazing women photographers featured in Women of Vision have excelled in a historically male-dominated field. Our hope is that Women of Vision will inspire the next generation of young women to pursue their personal, professional aspirations, no matter what field that might be.
You know, I'm thinking that the PNC's commitment to diversity certainly impacts the company's outreach to women business owners, too, in the 200,000 female-led and owned businesses in the great state of Michigan.
It certainly does. As a matter of fact, PNC has a program where we have certified 1,400 of our employees for women business advocates across a 19-state footprint who deliver business and personal financial products, services, and resources that business women need to thrive. PNC has pledged to annually increase access to capital for qualified women-owned companies and has done just that for the last several years.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the Women of Vision exhibition, National Geographic Photographers on Assignment. If you would, Dr. Michael Stafford, kind of take us through the exhibition so we better understand it.
Certainly, Paul. It's a very big show. It's going to be hosted in the Institute's traveling gallery. It's actually nearly 7,000 square feet.
Wow.
It's a show that is incredibly visual, as you would imagine. It has the best of the best in terms of photography shot by Nat Geo's female photojournalists over the last 20 years. There's more than 75 images. If you read National Geographic magazine, you certainly will recognize many of the images that are contained in the show. It's very dramatically lit. It has multimedia components, several interactives that go along with it. All of the images are accompanied by labels that delve into the photojournalist's motivation for shooting the image in the first place, large components on their own personal stories. It's going to be a really rich show. It's definitely not just for adults. This is a show that is ideal for school audiences. It's a good family show. The Institute has created a small complement to it that has some hands-on features for very young learners. But this is a show that's really unlike any that we've ever hosted at the Institute. I want to just tip my hat again to Ric DeVore and PNC for selecting Cranbrook for hosting it. It's probably almost certainly the most high-profile show that we've hosted in all my years at Cranbrook, and I've been there since the mid-'90s.
And this is a show that, as you mentioned, opens September 14th and runs through December 30th, so it's a big long-term commitment.
Correct, and a lot of nice opportunities in the holiday windows for families, for out-of-town guests. The Institute does very high-volume K-12 field trip visits, so we'll be having lots of young visitors from southeast Michigan and throughout the region that will be able to see the show while it's here.
Would we know some of the National Geographic photojournalists? Would we know any of the names? I'm not so certain that we would.
Yeah, I'm not certain you would either, because most of the focus, if you're a longtime reader of Nat Geo magazine, tends to be more on the stories, and those that actually are writing the stories themselves. The photographers that are within it are most of them are North American. All very high profile if you're in the art world. And we may actually have the opportunity at some point to bring one or two of them here to the market for visitors to be able to interact with.
I think that would be great. And is there ever an opportunity in something like this where there are copies of the work available to buy?
Actually, there's a catalog. There's a lovely catalog that comes with it with every single image that's in the show. You can purchase it at the Institute of Science. You also can acquire it online. It's probably the most stunning exhibit catalog I've ever seen.
Paul, you earlier in the year, in April, around the Women's Power Breakfast with Gleaners, we did have Maggie Stieber here, one of the 11 photographers. Jody Cobb.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And Jody Cobb will be at the exhibit's opening, and Jody is probably the most seasoned photojournalist of the 11, and so she was chosen. And of course, some of this has to do with availability, because you were asking about whether some of our audience might know some of these people. A lot of these people, for all intents and purposes, live abroad. I mean, Maggie, if you remember, I think she made 100 trips just to Haiti.
Wow.
And so I'm not sure the life balance is really there for this group from a family perspective, but they're on the road a lot, in places like Afghanistan, Africa, all over the world.
Well, the fact is, I bet there's a lot of work we'll know. We'll know the work, and finally we'll be able to put the artist, the photojournalist, with that work.
Yeah, without question.
Because as you mentioned, Michael, if you ever read National Geographic, you're going to see some iconic photos, and you go, "Oh my!" And now all of a sudden, you know who did it.
Absolutely, and most people don't realize that National Geographic actually has a very robust exhibition arm. They offer exhibitions on all kinds of sizes and topics, and in my opinion, having been in the museum business for a lot of years, this is probably one of their best. But hopefully, this raises the profile of National Geographic as well.
I think this will raise the profile of all involved, and it's important work to have an exhibition, in this case dedicated to the work of women photographers. I suspect whoever contacted whomever, however it worked out, you probably came to a happy agreement for the involvement of all here sitting in this room and on this program, because it just makes a great deal of sense.
No, it really does, and it touches a number of things, not just the women in business, but, if we can use this as an outreach as well and expose some people, that don't get a chance to get exposure to this kind, to the arts. And Cranbrook already has a partnership with Detroit Public Schools, bringing children in from the city on a regular basis. And so when we selected Cranbrook, this was just another natural part of their DNA, which is outreach to the community. And if we can expose more young ladies to photography, and again, their life's work doesn't need to be photography, but and get them to think maybe a little bit outside of their normal realm, I think that would be really important. I'm not sure who's more excited about this, the young ladies or the parents. The parents are pretty geared up about this. There's a lot of buzz about this exhibit coming to town.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, in partnership with PNC, we're working right now on developing a very focused outreach program that would engage young women coming out of Detroit Public Schools. They would be brought to Cranbrook. They would be paired in teams coming out of different schools, possibly even different districts. And in the flavor and intent of the show, would be challenged to create their own photos, tell their own stories. We're in the process right now of building a digital interface where photography can be taken. It could even be as simple as on a cell phone, uploaded to a site that would be publicly accessible, so external audiences could view it. We will be bringing them to Cranbrook 3 times throughout the fall to get some targeted workshops on Saturdays led by top scholars. We envision doing one solely on photojournalism, another focused on environmental photography, which is a major component of the show, and a third one on social justice interviews. As Rick mentioned earlier, Maggie's work in Haiti, looking at hunger in particular. Obviously, you don't have to go to Haiti to find social justice issues,
right.
And we think there's value in certainly educational value, but also value in potential career choices by engaging these young women and offering them opportunities to interact with one another and create work that we can then show. So we're excited about it, and we'll tell you more as the date draws closer when that goes live.
You're listening to PNC Roundtable with our regional president, Ric DeVore, along with Dr. Michael Stafford, director of Cranbrook Institute of Science, and Lisa Sampson, managing director, senior vice president, PNC Wealth Management, Southeast Michigan. The Women of Vision exhibition coming to Cranbrook. It opens September 14th. It runs through December 30th. National Geographic photographers on assignment. And one of your assignments, Lisa, is working with women business owners. And in fact, PNC has received numerous awards for providing an inclusive environment where women in banking can thrive. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, Paul. I'm very proud of PNC's efforts to promote outstanding females into key business roles. We have exceptional women executives heading a number of PNC business lines. For example, our PNC Executive Vice President, Diana Reed, runs commercial real estate, a place where you often don't find women, a group that includes more than 1,000 employees and has $37 billion portfolio. Locally, women manage our institutional investments, public finance, and wealth management groups. In fact, the National Association of Female Executives recently named PNC one of the top 50 companies for executive women for the 6th year in a row.
Well, congratulations
Thank
to
you.
all the hardworking men and women at PNC. Michael, is this exhibition playing in other cities?
It is. Currently, it's in
Charlotte.
It has been in Washington, and it's going to go to other venues beyond the Institute of Science. We hope that we can do it best. I will just
I'm certain
put that out
you
there
will.
better than the others, but we get a lot of support, a lot of help from National Geographic. As a matter of fact, just this month we have 2 of their technicians coming to help install the show. But we're going to give it its own Cranbrook spin as well.
Yeah,
How many semi-trucks are involved with it? I mean, this is a large exhibit.
Yeah, well, the first semis have already been here.
Wow.
And I think it was 2 to deliver them right to our loading dock. And the yard itself will arrive early in September, and we'll have about 10 days to get it all installed.
Paul, you know I'm a slightly competitive, and so I wanted to tell you that.
I just learned that so is Dr. Stafford.
So when this opportunity came up, I got with Sean Wilson, and one of our requirements to participate was to have it before that city called Chicago. And, you know, you and I have talked on there many times about how our children are going to Chicago, and don't get me wrong.
Used to go to Chicago.
It's a great city, but it was important to us that we had it here prior to Chicago because Chicago's not that far away. And so this will be the first stop in the Midwest.
Beautiful.
And we wouldn't have signed up for it otherwise. And also, it needs to be here this time of year because being here through the summer, school's not in session at Cranbrook, and it really is, I think, associated with the start of the school year, which is obviously right around the corner. And to have it prior to Chicago is really important to me.
Well, good for you. You are competitive.
Yeah, and that, can I just add, that really that shone through because we had a booking for this fall already on the in place, and Rick felt so strongly about wanting it in front of the Chicago market that he convinced me that we probably ought to bump the show that we had, push it back, which we were happy to do when, again, an exhibit of this profile was offered.
So there you go.
Who would have ever guessed that about you, Rick?
My friends in Chicago are probably going to listen to this and it'll go viral, but that's okay.
That's okay. Hey, touche, you won. Key messages that maybe we are looking for here that you would like the people that come and visit the Women of Vision exhibition there at Cranbrook Institute of Science. What would you hope that audiences would take away from visiting the exhibit? And I open that question up to the three of you, and why don't you start, Dr. Stafford?
Well, other than empowering women and exposing young female audiences to career opportunities and vocational opportunities, in our world, it's really about celebrating diversity. The Institute of Science is a natural history museum. We are in the business of helping visitors of all ages and backgrounds understand the diverse world around them, understand their impact upon it, their ability to have positive influences within it. This show, again, is one that celebrates diversity. It's not about any specific country or time period or place or people. It's all of it together. And I think it tells that message very, very effectively. So through the eyes of a natural history museum like the Institute of Science at Cranbrook, my number one hope is that people come away with an understanding that they live in a fascinating, diverse, wonderful world that they can have a positive influence upon.
Hard to add to that, Lisa, but I'm going to ask you to. And Rick, you better be getting ready because then you have to do it. They're already covering it pretty well.
And I would just add to what Mike said in terms, I'm very proud of the fact that PNC is dedicated to diversity. And, we live and breathe that every day within our bank. And to be able to bring an exhibit to Detroit of such caliber, I think is very exciting. And as Rick said before, not just the children, but the parents as well. So I think it's a great effort between our two institutions.
And now?
And Paul, I would add, I was down in Chicago, so I've been to the exhibit, down in Charlotte Sorry about Chicago reference. Down
Now
in
you're
Charlotte.
you're just feeling a little guilty that you stole this from Chicago.
Trying to make up for it. No. But I'll tell you, I would ask the listeners to think about this. And there's the actual work, but then there's the story behind, which I find fascinating, of how did they get the opportunity to get that shot, what it took to get yourself in that position to create such a great image. That is really, I think, the most fascinating piece of this. And going back to women photographers versus male, the fact is, many times they're afforded an opportunity that men might not even have. And you'll find some stunning work in there of how some of the subjects only probably got comfortable because that photographer was a woman. And particularly in Afghanistan, I noticed there were some shots that if a male popped out of a truck, started shooting shots, I'm not sure that would have went over quite as well. And there's a lot of work that goes in before getting that opportunity.
And I wonder if there were times, too, where because it was a woman in other parts of the world, they didn't want her taking shots.
As you heard from Maggie, I mean, she had her life threatened through poison, being shot at, kidnapping. It's pretty amazing how brave these people are to be able to get themselves in that position. But I think some people may make the mistake of thinking, you just show up with the camera and you start shooting. There's a lot of work that goes into getting yourself in that position and getting permission, to your point.
Right.
Because sometimes the camera appears to people as a weapon, not as something of art.
Right.
So I think that's the part that fascinated me the most going through the exhibit, was the story behind the story, whether that's natural history and wildlife, which there's, obviously there's shots like that. But I'm more interested in the social justice side and some of those photos and how could you get yourself in that position to do that.
Maggie Stieber, when she was here, actually told us a story of it took her an entire week for a woman to become comfortable, and the pictures are amazing. The photography is just amazing. But to your point, Rick, it was an entire week before she could really get what she wanted.
Yeah.
I think it's important to note too, none of the women who shot these images did it to get rich.
No.
It's very much done in the vein of storytelling and documenting stories that need to be told that the participants who were in the photos probably couldn't tell themselves. In my mind, that harkens to really how we serve others. And I can tell you one of Cranbrook's real primary interests in this is how can we serve others through hosting this exhibition. Again, PNC offered this show to us at no cost. So in my mind, that's even more of an obligation that we need to make it available. I should tell you that there are opportunities to be able to see the show at absolutely no cost every Friday, every first Friday of the month in the evenings. The Institute is open for free. We also have a no turn-away policy. If we get people that show up that can't afford the ticket price, we're one of the few venues I'm aware of that would accept folks that have a legitimate need or a legitimate desire to see the show but no ability to pay.
Can't pay.
The whole service to other angle is one that's in our DNA at Cranbrook. And if my boss, Cranbrook's president, Dom DeMarco, was here, he would tell you exactly that.
You can go to science.cranbrook.edu for more information and to get tickets and to find out about all the various programs around it. Science.cranbrook.edu. And for that matter, Dr. Stafford, Michael, are there some other programs you are activating around the exhibit?
We are forming currently a small lecture series that is going to be available during its run. You will be able to find details about that on the Institute's website. We are continuing to explore ways that we can engage the K-12 audience, including the Grow Up Great audience. They're the little knee-highs, but there's opportunities for them in this as well. And I think we're going to have an exciting lineup of program as we gear up into September.
It seems like it already, because this is something you've been gearing up for. This is something that is taking a lot of planning, and there's a huge commitment here to give up that space for something that will open September 14th and run through December 30th before it moves on to Chicago or wherever else it'll move on to, since we got it first.
Let's go into Atlanta from here.
All right.
And then to Chicago. So
And it has been a lot of work. I should just share, I have PNC's conference code memorized at this point from all the calls that we've held. And Sean Wilson could attest to that.
Mayor Sean? Yes, indeed. This is something, I think we've stressed it enough already, but maybe we should reiterate. This is something for everyone to come see. This is a wonderful opportunity for the family to come see the Women of Vision exhibition, National Geographic photographers on assignment at the Institute of Science at Cranbrook, to enjoy from an artistic standpoint, to learn from an historic standpoint, to inspire not just young girls, but young boys and everyone, that you really can do some of these things. It takes a lot of hard work and perseverance, but it pays off. So I think it's something for everybody to come see.
That was really well said. It really is.
Mm-hmm. I concur.
And so if you go online, science.cranbrook.edu, you'll get that information on how to be there, how to be involved. And I think it's just a wonderful opportunity that would not have come together if it were not for PNC at the head, the National Geographic, certainly Cranbrook. And I understand proudly that WJR is one of your sponsors, along with WDIV Channel 4. Tell me a little bit about that relationship.
Well, we, again, you see a theme there. We go back to partners that we already have, and, those are two great partners, and we wanted to give an exclusive to not only WJR, but to WDIV. And I know that Ann Thomas, your good friend and somewhat boss sometimes.
Yeah, she's our executive producer and program director.
And we'll be doing Women Who Lead, I believe, on the 12th, correct, in the morning from Cranbrook. So that'll be an easier drive for you that morning.
Yes, it will be.
Much easier than it's been lately.
Yeah.
So that's a good example of us really utilizing this exhibit for other reasons and to really capitalize on having an exhibit there. And Jody Cobb will be at that event as well, one of the photographers.
Using your resources at PNC, because it's in your DNA, the Grow Up Great program, and Cranbrook's already been a partner as well as all the rest of us, you pick and choose very carefully, as you must.
Well, we really do, and like I said before, there's somewhat, there's a familiarity with Cranbrook. There's a familiarity with WJR. We know the people, we know their cadence, we know what they're capable of, and quite frankly, that was probably the easier part of this whole task, because we know that we won't be disappointed with with the outcomes.
And the technology of showing the photographs on the radio, that was really something that we had really
world class.
But as I said that, and I meant it as a joke as I said it, but as I think about it, when we do the Women Who Lead broadcast, we can have our Mr. Cameraman here as well, and while he's there, he can maybe take some shots or shoot some of the artwork, the photojournalist's work, if you will, on the walls. So we actually will be able to show some of that work because you will be underway by the time we're there. When's our broadcast?
It'll be the 12th, and we actually open that Sunday. So you'll get a sneak peek.
We'll get a sneak peek if people will come online to WJR.com and also the PNC webpage. I would suspect that all of that will be visible and available for that sneak peek.
And if your photographer doesn't go through the exhibit, I'll be greatly disappointed in him. This will be right up your alley.
I think he's talking to you. Well, and now, of course, with the big budget we have 2 cameras, so it's pretty exciting. Still 1 photographer, but 2 cameras. So it all works well. Anybody with anything we have missed or that you want to make sure we reiterate?
No, I know it's going to be a terrific show. It's going to have a regional appeal. It's not here for a long period. The Institute of Science is open daily except for Mondays. And I just hope we can turn out literally every WJR listener.
I think we'll probably be able to do that and then some.
That's our hope, and I think it's really going to be a unique exhibit and experience for this community, and I really encourage listeners to come and take a peek and get inspired by this exhibit.
You'll be able to maybe see some of that September 12th when we do our broadcast, Women Who Lead. On that day, this opens officially. Well, there's probably a little party celebration September 13th, and there's the 14th when it actually opens at Cranbrook and runs through December 30th. But I would suggest you go online, or even right now, at science.cranbrook.edu www.cranbrook.edu to get all the information you need. A great explanation of the Women of Vision exhibition, National Geographic Photographers on Assignment, an opportunity to check out the hours and the ticket prices and all of that. And I hope that you will do that. I thank our guests, Dr. Michael Stafford, Director of the Institute of Science at Cranbrook. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Paul.
And Lisa Sampson, Managing Director, Senior Vice President, PNC Wealth Management, Southeast Michigan. Lisa, nice to have you here with us as well.
Nice to be here. Thank you, Paul.
And our co-host and the Grand Poobah, Rick, you get the final word.
Well, no, I think you said it really well earlier, and you've coined the phrase the PNC DNA, and I'm going to give you credit for that. I've used it many times, but it really is in our DNA of how we go to market, and the community is being such a big focus for us and so important. And this, I think, is just a continuation of that focus and those efforts. And I think our employees, I would add, are pretty proud of us bringing this exhibit as well.
As well they should be. Right. Congratulations to each and every one of you as employees of PNC and all the folks involved in this. And we thank our regional president and co-host of the program, Ric DeVore. For the PNC Roundtable, I'll be talking to you in the morning from 5:30 till 9 on News Talk 760 on the AM dial, WJR. Regards, Paul W. Smith.